without completely frazzling yourselves or your team. It's the mission of my business to help women have that success in their careers without burning out, because I burnt out 11 years ago. But I did return to a successful career, and I've learnt so much about why that happened, and learnt the tools and techniques to help me return to a successful career without the burnout. And one of the things that I identified was about how big my sphere of influence was. And in the upcoming course that I'll be launching in January, Invisible to Valued, I will be talking about this, and I thought I would share a little bit of it with you today. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see. Let me know if you can. I can't now see what I want to share. That's no good, is it? Let's have a look. If I open that up. This is the beauty of, here we go. Beauty of live video. Sorry about that. Right, hopefully you can see that now. Because, right, so we all have a sphere of influence. So we have the bits that we can control. So the bit in the middle, so the dark green bit in here, that's the stuff that you influence on a day-to-day basis. So the projects you manage, the people you manage, the stuff that's really like easy for you to do something about and make a difference with. And then there is your sphere of influence. So this might be stuff where you're not directly able to make those changes or make those decisions, but you can start to influence those decisions. So sometimes that might be, if you work for a supplier and you can influence the retailer to do something that is in the best interests of your business. It might be influencing other departments. And it's stuff that you can kind of guide and influence. And you can do that by collaborating with those people, or you can do it through subtle techniques of getting them on board. And then there's this big circle, which is our sphere of concern. And that's stuff that you can't completely influence. So stuff that you might be worried about, but you can't really influence. So like in the influence bit where I was saying, so if you're a supplier and you work with a retailer, and you might be able to influence the people that you face into, so the buying team, the developers, that sort of thing. But actually in this big concern bubble are things like the retailer is going to their advertising campaign is about something completely different. You're not the brand values that they decide they're going to put out. It's stuff that is going to be really, really difficult for you to influence. And this really works as well. So I'm talking about work things here, but actually this really works when you think about your personal life as well, because that big bubble of concern can include things like the cost of living crisis. We all know it's there. We can influence it to a certain degree, but some of that stuff is completely out of our control. Oh, now my phone's ringing. I tell you, the day I'm having with interruptions and stuff. And then the sphere of oh God, what was I saying? It's so easy to get like off track, isn't it? Sorry. The beauty of a live video and me just being me. So all of that stuff, like the war and all of that stuff, is completely outside of your concern. And actually, if you can't influence it, you need to do what you can to compartmentalize it, because actually for spending your time and energy worrying about the stuff that's outside of your sphere of influence is not helpful. But going back to the work example, what can happen is you kind of want to get these circles in like an equal size, because sometimes as a manager, you can find yourself trying to expand your the control bit. And when you expand that, yes, you get more control of everything, but you get overwhelmed and there's too much to do. So my example of that is when I was working as a commercial manager and I was, things weren't getting done that were in my sphere of influence. So specs getting written and stuff like that. And I started to do that stuff myself because it needed to get done. And I was worried about this big area of concern, which was upsetting the customer. Now, what that ended up happening for me was working longer hours, and long and short of it, burning out. And actually, it wasn't empowering the people around me, and it was papering over the cracks of issues around resource and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily, sometimes you might have a tiny area of control and you do want to try and grow that a little bit, but it isn't the only way to get stuff done. So it's this sweet spot in the middle, the bit where it's not necessarily in your control, but that you can influence. And that is the bit that we are going to be working on in the Invisible to Valued course, because this is the bit where you can get stuff done, get people on side, and get the recognition you deserve without making that control one really big and without worrying about everything in that bigger box. Because there are other people that can deal with that stuff. And that's where I've got on this diagram the specialists and experts, and also the flipping energy hoovers that aren't always helpful. So if you take, I'm going to stop sharing now. Hopefully that'll work. No, who knows? I can't see you. Let me know if you're there. Yeah. So if you take anything away from today, think about those 3 circles. Think about what is within your control and think about the big bit, all the stuff that's worrying you. So you can do it, like get Post-it notes and do it. And then think about where you can start to influence stuff a little bit more. And then I'll come back and I will do another video on what sort of behaviours help with influencing. Because this is all part of the course that is going to be launching it in January, which is the Invisible to Valued course, which is about helping you to feel more valued at work. If you want to get on the waiting list for that, I will put a link up and add yourself to the waiting list. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but it just means that you'll be the first to get all the information about that. I'm also going to run a 3-day challenge that's going to be around how to be more assertive and influential. And I'm going to be running that in the middle of January. So get yourself on the waiting list and then you'll hear about that challenge as it comes out. Hope you found that useful, and I will see you in my